Well, good morning and welcome to a very windy Canary Wharf. Now this morning I'm off to a pretty cool event, but first I got to get on a boat and I'll tell you more about it when we get to our destination. So I'm here at the Octopus Energy Summit here in Battersea Park in London, and what are we going to hear today? Well, we're definitely going to hear from Greg Jackson and a whole host of celebrity speakers. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to film when we go inside, but I'll certainly try and capture as many of the highlights as I can, and at the end I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on the day. With that, we're going to head in, so I'll see you all soon.
Welcome to the Octopus Energy Tech Summit 2025, a flagship event of London Climate Action Week.
And yes, you are at one of London Climate Action Week's flagship events, and the only one, I can promise you, with an astronaut and a motorbike riding CEO all on the same stage.
Look, first of all, I'm not going to be on here long because you're about to hear from some truly incredible people, and people who have not only got incredible things to say, but incredible reasons for saying it. What I just wanted to introduce, though, was why we're here at all. And for the last couple of years, Octopus have worked with Wired magazine to run an energy technology summit. Typically about 450 guests, policymakers, politicians, journalists, and people from the industry. And this year, we decided we want to be part of London Climate Action Week. And when I looked at the programme of events, it was about 5 weeks ago, the programme of speakers and what we were going to be doing. I looked at the list and I was like, we have to invite customers. And so it was only 5 weeks ago that we had a venue booked in central London for 450 people. And I said to the team, can you find somewhere that'll hold 3,000, invite thousands of customers, and let's do what we set out to do as a business, which is to democratize energy. Look, I hate that word, but the reality when we started was we said we wanted the energy transition to be done for and with people, not to them. That's what we've been doing as a business since we started. The fact that you've all chosen to come today, to give up your day with very little notice, is not lost on us. And it's part of that commitment I hope we have to each other to work together to find solutions that mean that instead of the rhetoric we keep hearing about the sacrifices we have to make for net zero, or the possibility of turning our back on it, we instead work harder to find ways that make net zero better for people, to make it cheaper, cleaner, to make our cities and towns quieter and nicer places.
We just had a very interesting morning's presentations.
Hey guys, future me here. Well, I made the cardinal mistake of thinking that my mic was working and recorded a whole lot of thoughts on the day, and when I got home and checked all the video, there was no audio except for the very last one. So lessons learned, take multiple microphones with you. But anyway, let me give you the short version of my thoughts from yesterday. So this was Octopus's first summit where they invited customers to come. And to be honest, for something that was planned at pretty short notice, as Greg said, within 5 weeks, it was superbly executed. Now, there were a couple of things that stood out to me. They named the event the Tech Summit, but there wasn't really an awful lot of talk about tech. This was very much an A-list speaker event, We had keynote speeches from the likes of astronaut Chris Hadfield, Professor Brian Cox, Professor Hannah Fry, Professor Yoav Harari, who, if you haven't read his book Sapiens, which is a fantastic book about the history of humankind, I highly recommend it. He was interviewed by Sir Stephen Fry, and let's be honest, any chance you get to listen to Sir Stephen Fry talk is a chance not to be missed. But the big news of the day was that Greg brought out a car onto the stage. Out of the back of the car stepped out Damon Hill, the racing driver, and Quentin Wilson, the motoring journalist, and they announced the new Power Pack with BYD in partnership. Now, to sum that up, what I'll do is I'll play you a short video of Greg talking about Power Pack, and then we can dig into a few of the details that I managed to get from the Octopus people afterwards.
Which means that available this autumn here in the UK, you'll be able to get BYD Dolphin with bi-directional charging for £299 a month, including all-wheel driving. So it's the first ever bundle where you get a car, a charger, and free driving, all for a monthly payment of £299. And I think this is the beginning of an entire revolution.
So a summary of Power Pack is that it is a lease car. So they didn't actually specify the length of the lease. So I don't know whether there's going to be multiple versions, but I would imagine a minimum of 3 years. You will pay £299 per month to lease that car. Obviously that includes servicing, but it's an electric vehicle, so it's probably not going to need an awful lot. But the big thing here was, as part of the package, they will include a Wallbox Pro bidirectional charger. And that's because this car is vehicle to grid enabled. Now, as part of this Power Pack and your £299 a month, you will get unlimited home free charging. So that means anytime you plug the car in to charge at home, it will be completely free. It's included in your £299 cost. So that means you're effectively driving for no extra cost, and you don't have to worry about what it's going to cost to run an EV. And I think that extra piece is going to make this a very, very exciting proposition for a lot of people. Now, initially it's going to be available with the BYD Dolphin. The Dolphin has a range of about 220 to 230 miles, so it's not a super big battery in the car. But Octopus said that what they'll be able to do is charge the car when it is, obviously there is a lot of green energy in the grid, and it is financially advantageous to Octopus to be able to do that. When they need a bit of energy back into the grid, they can obviously reach into the car battery and take some of that energy out again. Now, for this to work financially, they need you to plug in for about 20 sessions a month, which for most people shouldn't be too much of a problem. Like I say, it's not a huge battery car. The battery in my car, I have about a 330 mile range. I only plug it in about once every 10 days. Now, I don't drive an awful lot of miles, so therefore this probably wouldn't be something that would interest me. But if you are using your car to get back and forward to work, weekend trips out, those kind of things, 220 miles of range is probably huge for you. And again, when you get home and you plug it in, you don't have to worry about the cost of charging your car. Now, the way Octopus make money on this is obviously they will be able to export energy from your car when it is suitable for them. And nobody could confirm this, but reading some of the details, I get the feeling that you won't be able to be on an export tariff with this. So you won't get paid for exporting energy from the car. Octopus will take that benefit. But the advantage here is really simple. It's one monthly payment, and that is everything. The car, running it, the charger, the miles, everything all included in one bundle. Now, they did mention that they were looking to extend this Power Pack to other cars. I'm assuming with their partnership now with BYD, that we'll see more of the BYD range become available. For those that have never been in a BYD car, I'd highly recommend going and take a look at them because they are really impressive. I know there's going to be a lot of people say, oh, I'd never own a Chinese car. But to be honest, a lot of people said that about Japanese cars in the 1960s. And look what happened. The Japanese motor industry got good really quickly. Well, the Chinese industry have already got good really quickly. And these are some fantastic cars. But hopefully we will see it expand beyond the BYD range. It would be good to see this with some other cars, and it might be the thing that pushes the car manufacturers into bidirectional charging. So fingers crossed for that. So the day consisted, like I say, mostly of sort of celebrity keynotes that were tangentially connected to the energy industry. But there were a few panel sessions. Now, panel sessions obviously don't have the pizzazz of the big names, but there was an interesting session about bringing energy to Africa. And one of the things which I'm guilty of is we all think of Africa as one thing, whereas Africa is not a country, it's a continent. So they were talking about specific projects in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and others. And I found it very interesting, but I didn't think it was really that relevant to the audience that was there today. Now, I say this event was originally planned for policymakers, people in the energy industry, and then 5 weeks out, Greg decided, let's invite 2,500 customers. So this may have been things that were planned in advance. There was a really good panel with the founders of Octopus, so Greg, his CFO, their head of product, and also their employee number one. Forgive me, I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but a really sort of interesting and putting a more human sort of view on the company rather than everything just being focused on Greg. During the day, there were also test drives available. So if you wanted to go and test drive the latest generation of EVs, there were those available. There wasn't a huge amount of tech, which, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed about, given it was called the Tech Summit. There were a few cozy heat pumps dotted around, more for sort of advertising purposes. There wasn't, somebody stood next to them to tell you about it. You had to go and seek somebody out if you wanted more information. They did have the new Octopus Charge chargers. Now, for those of you that haven't seen it, last week I put out a video about the announcement. I did manage to get to see them. There is both a tethered and an untethered version. But as I said, I was concerned about this was just an app-driven charger. There are no physical buttons on it. The one that is untethered, there is really nothing. It's just an Octopus logo on the front of it. You do need the Octopus app to be able to use these. Now, I did ask the question, well, what if I decide to leave Octopus as a customer? How does that affect my charger? And the answer was very much the same as it is for an Octopus heat pump. So if you have a Cozy 6 and you leave Octopus, you will still be able to operate your heat pump. You will still use the Octopus app for it. So that will happen with the Octopus Charge as well. So you'll still be able to schedule your charging with whoever your energy provider is through that device. But obviously they've built this device to fit in neatly with their software offerings. So again, if you've got the Power Pack, so you're paying £30 a month for your charging, this will work with that. If you're on the intelligent tariffs, it will work with those as well. So yeah, it was a really, really good day. It did run a little long. We were probably about an hour over in the schedule, but nobody's going to complain with a schedule of A-list celebrities talk. And not just A-list celebrities, but A-list celebrities that were really good public speakers and really interesting to listen to. The whole event was hosted by Natasha Klapinski. Apologies if I got her surname slightly wrong there. A BBC newsreader is probably how most people know her, but a phenomenal host for these kind of events. The day wrapped up with, for me, the highlight of talks, marketing genius Rory Sutherland. If you've never heard Rory speak, just go on YouTube, search for Rory Sutherland, you will find him. You can't miss him. He is a force of nature. I did try and record some of his presentation, but for copyright reasons and background music and all those kind of things, I'm not going to put it up here. But Rory gave a great talk on range anxiety. Now, I've heard him give this talk before, so if Octopus don't make all these sessions available on their YouTube channel, then do please go to YouTube, search for Rory Sutherland range anxiety, you'll find it. But he gave a fantastic talk about how sometimes we need to reframe the arguments, and we sometimes focus on the wrong thing, the wrong problem to solve. And he said with range anxiety, there are two components. There is range and there is anxiety. We always focus on solving the range problem. We need bigger batteries, more cells packed into the same amount of space. He said when you can solve it the other way by solving the anxiety problem. And the example he gave just had the audience roaring with laughter. And he said, it's really simple. He says, when we had a petrol car, we had a fuel gauge that said full, 3/4, half, 3/4 empty, empty, the light comes on, we need to get to a petrol station. But with an EV, we have a percentage, and most of us start feeling range anxiety when we start seeing the numbers actually go down. So we go from 92 to 91 to 90. I start to think, okay, I've lost 10%. When do I need to charge? Why do we do this to ourselves? We could solve the range anxiety problem by just saying, you've got enough, you've got enough, you've got almost enough, you probably need to think about recharging. And I've done him a horrible disservice by explaining it that way. But again, go look up Rory Sutherland and range anxiety. Now, as I say, fantastic event all around, first class catering, how they managed to cater to that many people at such short notice. Plenty of drinks, waters, fruit juice available, even some alcoholic beverages at the end of the day for everybody. And for everyone to take home with them, they gave everybody a plushie Constantine the Octopus, which I'm now going to have to defend with my life because my grandson and my daughter, who by the way is in her 30s, have already got their eye on this. Well, that's it from Future Me. Back to JT as he was leaving the event to wrap up.
Well, that's it. Octopus Technology Summit 2025 is over. And I've got to say, it's been a phenomenal day. Some fantastic speakers, a lot of thought leadership, and a lot less advertising for Octopus than I would have thought. Now, we had the big announcement from Greg earlier about the new leasing plan that's coming with integrated charging, and I'll cover more of that in a separate video. But some fantastic speakers, and finishing up with one of my all-time favourites, Rory Sutherland, who gave a great talk, and especially about reframing the idea of range anxiety in EVs. I'm now going to head home after a phenomenal day, and just a big thank you to the team at Octopus. Thank you for the invite, let me come along. It's been a fantastic day. I hope this has been interesting. If it has, a like and subscribe would be really appreciated. And if I'm lucky, I will see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.